You see a girl you like, you want to go talk to her, but you feel scared. And because of that fear, you don't do it and regret it immediately afterwards. If this loop feels familiar, then this video is going to be for you. I'm going to give you 4 steps on how to approach a girl even when you're scared shitless. And this is not going to be me telling you, well, just use this opener, make eye contact first, do affirmations or meditation, because you already know that you can do all that and still freeze when it actually matters. So instead, I'm going to give you real stuff that if you actually implement, you'll be able to approach a girl even when you're scared. Step number 1 is you need to normalize fear. A lot of guys ask, how do I approach when I'm scared? But that question itself is invalid because you're supposed to be scared. It's like asking, how do I fly a plane when there's gravity? Well, there's always gravity. You don't remove gravity, you just learn how to deal with it. Same thing here. You don't remove fear, you learn to act with fear. So instead of asking, how do I approach when I'm scared? The real question is just, how do I approach? Because fear is part of the process, especially in the beginning. Step number 2 is you need to train properly. Let me ask you a simple question. How do you bench 200 kilos? Well, you probably need to go to the gym, you need to train. You don't just walk in one day and try to bench 200 kilos, but that's exactly what a lot of guys do in dating. They see a super attractive girl and they just expect themselves to just do it, not having done approaches for weeks. Of course you can't approach that attractive girl. You haven't trained properly. Now you might be asking, what does training actually mean? Well, it means exposure exercises. You don't start by approaching the hottest girl and getting her on a date because you won't be able to do it. You just simply start by interacting with everyday strangers. For example, giving a compliment to an older woman on her coat, on her scarf. It sounds very simple, but it forces you to interact with strangers on a smaller scale. And then you repeat this again and again. And this is actually how you build a muscle. Now here a lot of guys will say, well, I can't approach girls I'm not attracted to. I can only approach the girls that I like. But here's the thing. If you can't approach someone you're not attracted to, that's the biggest thing that you need this training. Because if you feel fear with people you're not attracted to, how much fear do you think you'll have with the girl that you're actually attracted to? So don't skip these gradual exposure exercises. Now, step number 3 is learning to jump. So normalizing fear prepares you mentally, exposure exercises prepares you physically, but even then, you'll still feel that fear in that moment. And this is where the additional skill comes in. You need to learn how to jump. Because the hardest part of the whole approach isn't the actual conversation, it's that split second before you go, that moment where you decide, well, am I doing this or am I not doing this? And you can't think your way out of it, you just have to act. You have to count from 3, 2, 1, go, and then you move. And here's the interesting part. That jump never really goes away as you get better at this. It just shifts. Because at first, that jump is just going and talking to that girl. But then as you get more comfortable with opening conversations, that jump becomes showing intent. Because at that point, you might have no problem opening a girl, but actually flirting with her, that becomes difficult. Then after, at some point, you're really good at flirting, but then you feel very nervous asking for a date. So it's the same thing. You have to make that jump to ask for a date. It's always the same pattern. And then finally, step 4, which is the most important one, is taking this seriously. Because let's be honest, most guys just don't take it seriously enough. They watch some videos, they maybe go out once or twice, and then they expect results just like that. But that simply doesn't work. You need to dedicate some real time, take massive action through exposure exercises, get feedback from someone, and do this for months. Otherwise, you will never improve at this and stay stuck for years or decades trying to figure this out and wondering why it's not working. And if you're ready to take this seriously, then my one-on-one mentorship might be interesting for you. I coach guys all over the world. They go out there in their city while being on a call with me so I can guide them through these exposure exercises, help them deal with their doubts, give feedback, and most importantly, hold them accountable. So if you're tired of getting stuck and actually want to take this seriously, check out the first link in the description.